So we were talking about the homework, we're talking about getting it done, we're talking about when you do the activities, you tend to feel good about yourself. So I wrote down here, there's a direct relationship between self-discipline and self-esteem. The self-discipline of doing the work, getting it done, accomplishing the item or items, and then the self-esteem, how good you feel about getting the work done. So I wrote down here, the more you practice self-mastery and self-control, the more you like and value yourself. If you like yourself, if you're happy with yourself, if you're happy with your activities for the day or the week, you tend to do more and are out there more talking to people. If you don't particularly like yourself, if you didn't do what you said you were going to do in the time frame you were going to do it, you don't feel particularly good about yourself. It's an interesting feeling. Let me share this thought with you. Just coming to the blitz, just showing up, making some phone calls, talking to some past client and sphere and some just listed and just solds. At the end of that period, do you feel better about yourself or worse about yourself? Better, right? That's a great experience. And it generally helps make the rest of the day work a little bit better. So I wrote down here, the more you discipline yourself, the greater your sense of self-respect and personal pride. The more you practice self-discipline, the better your self-image, the better you see yourself. The converse is true. If you didn't do your homework, you guys are sitting there not feeling too terrific about yourself right now. Aren't you? Say yes. Yes. Yeah. You're feeling bad. He caught me. Oh. You don't feel good about yourself. However, if you did the homework, and the homework was just a small nothing in terms of effort that we were asking you to do, but you did it, you feel pretty darn good about yourself. And that plays really well. So I wrote down here words that we've talked about in the past. Things that, words we've chosen, we work on. You know, words like discipline, words like hard work, words like consistency and taking action, words that we've referred to about enthusiasm, stick-to-itness, winners, losers. But the word I want to talk about right now, write this down, is the word complacency. Write down the word complacency. Synonyms from Webster's dictionary for the word complacency are big-headed. If you're complacent, you can be big-headed. You have pride. You have pompousness. You have self-admiration. These are synonyms for the word complacency. These are not my words. These came from Webster's dictionary. How about self-congratulation? Self-glory? How about self-importance? How about swelled head? When you're complacent, you start to feel better about yourself. I wrote down here, you think to yourself, you had a good month, or you had a good quarter, or you had a good week, so therefore I am what? Complacent. No, so therefore I am good. Okay? So therefore I'm good. You think of yourself, you had a good month or a good quarter, so therefore I am good. You look at the current results, the current closings, the current pendings, the current listings. You don't tend to look toward the future and fully understand that it was your consistent hard work. This is the key to the complacency. Consistent hard work and momentum that got you here. What we think is that I got me here. And the truth is, it was your activities and the building on the activities and the work that you did and the phone calls you made and the things that came before you that helped you do work on this. So, what happens when you feel good about yourself and you feel good about a deal, or you start to feel good about you got a script or a dialogue, or you closed an escrow? What tends to happen?
Confidence goes up.
Confidence goes up. What else? Come on.
Efficiency goes up too.
Efficiencies goes up, or what happens? Complacency goes in, and what happens to efficiency? It goes down. Efficiencies don't go up when you think you've done a good job. You go, I can kick back for a minute. What we start to think of is we think in terms of, well, I've got an extra couple of $1,000s in the bank, so therefore I don't have to work quite as hard. Now, nobody raised their hand, but and keep it down, I don't want to know. Has anyone ever thought that? I have enough to pay this month's house payment, so I don't have to talk to as many people. Hello? Am I hitting home? I see some smiles. This is complacency, ladies and gentlemen, at its worst form. That's what complacency is. I'll take a pause, even so slight, and then you can whisper to yourself just slightly, I can back off a little bit now because I have a little bit of breathing room. That's complacency. I can take advantage of my good fortune. I work hard. I deserve it. The market is changing for the better. Therefore, business will be good for me going what? Forward. Is that true or false in some cases? Jim Arnold thought business was going to be good for him for a long, long time. But he can't door knock the way he door knocked anymore. Does that change things?
Yes.
Absolutely. We have to think about that stuff. We have to think about those changes. I wrote down here, most people don't consider themselves complacent because they think being complacent means you're lazy. Okay? This is a really, really tough conversation because people attribute complacency to laziness, and no one wants to be thought of as lazy. Get it? You guys with me on this? Okay? Are you uncomfortable a little bit, I hope? Good. Okay, good. So I wrote down here, most people don't consider themselves as complacent because they think it means they're lazy. I've known agents who work 70 hours a week. I wouldn't call a person that works 70 hours a week lazy, would you guys? No. Yes or no?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay? But are so content with their results that they don't hold themselves accountable for their daily activities. They work 70 hours, they put in 70 hours, but they don't hold themselves accountable for the activities during that time. I wrote down here, complacency is almost always a product of success or perceived success. Did you get that? I wrote down here, it's the successful who are most susceptible to complacency. The successful are the most susceptible to the complacency. So, as a leader, it's my job to recognize this and point out and develop a plan to ensure that it doesn't happen to you. The biggest problem, the single biggest issue I run into, Bill runs into, Dave runs into, Diane runs into as a coach is not how to teach you scripts and dialogues. It's not how to teach you to door knock. It's how to teach you to not be complacent. Because you are where you are because it's okay with you. And that is a problem. Do you guys get this? Do you get where I'm coming from on this? I've got to help you move to the next level. We're okay with where we are. Now, where we are might be nice. It might be we've got a couple dollars in the bank. It might be that we've got 5 or 6 pendings. It might be that we've had a really decent first half of the year. Yet, where we are is minuscule to where we could be if we got out of complacency. You get that? Minuscule. We're able to take trips and go on really nice trips and go see great places. But would you like to take that trip first class? Would you like to stay in a 5-star hotel? Would you like to have enough money in your pocket that you could buy anything in any store, in any place? Wouldn't that be a great feeling? But we don't have that because we're complacent. I wrote down here, prosperity drains urgency. Write that down. Prosperity drains urgency. As prosperity increases, the work ethic and intensity can diminish unless the leadership, me, kicking your tush, now you, get it? This is my job, is to awaken you to that. I'm not a teacher, I'm an awakener. Get open to this thought. I mean, I really didn't put this together, but the truth is that, I've said this before, you're either an example or a warning. You're either an example or a warning, okay? Are you an example to your family, or are you a warning? What are you? What would you prefer to be? What can you do about it? What can you move on to the next level? Intensity can diminish unless the leadership continues to create a healthy sense of urgency that propels the team to focus on greater gains and bigger wins. A healthy sense of urgency. Urgency is there are 10 work days left between now and the superstar retreat. Okay, we can look at that 2 ways. There are only 10 work days left, and therefore, oh my gosh, I'm running out of time, or I have 10 work days, I can sit back and relax. But you can look at it both. You get that? You can look at that both ways. What do you choose to do? I'm choosing to remind you there are only 10 work days left, and in those 10 work days, you can talk to more people. Talk to 30, 40, 50 people a day. If you talk to people, past client and sphere, how many people did you talk to before you got a listing appointment? How many? 230 people. Now you talked to 230 or you dialed 230 numbers? You talked to 230 people and came out of it with a listing appointment. Excuse me, 2 listings. 2 listing appointments and 1 listing taken. Okay, and any other leads? How many?
5.
Okay, 200 past client and sphere. You talk to them on a regular basis?
No, I haven't.
Now, right, but before? No. 230 people? 230 people. How long did it take to talk to 230 people? A month, 30 days. And was able to get a listing out of it. Is that worth it or not worth it?
Worth it.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, you're killing me. And Tess lost 3 transactions from not talking to her people. That's even worse. I don't know what's better. That's $30,000, $40,000, Tess? At least, because you double-end a good portion of stuff. Could be more. What? Wow. But this is interesting. You're very successful. By our standards, you're very successful. And you work very hard for that. Okay? And yet, there's complacency that sets in over there. Because you could have made the phone calls at some point over X period of time. And for whatever reason, we don't. We have got to stop doing that to ourselves. once and for all. I'm not going to let up with you on these past client and sphere of influence situations until you take complete ownership and you know what's going on in that file so that you have control of that business. As prosperity increases, the work ethic and intensity can diminish, and it does. The more prosperous we become, our intensity tends to diminish. We have to refocus on that. I wrote down here, just because someone has a full schedule and his or her days are jam-packed with activities doesn't mean they're not complacent. I wrote down here, what's more important than motion or speed is progress. What's more important than motion and speed is progress. It's common for complacent people to work frantically and not have their business grow. Do you ever feel like that? Frantically, and yet your business is not growing. The best medicine to use in the fight against complacency is the sense of urgency. Time is running out. 10 working days to the superstar retreat. Also, write my favorite one down. Time is running out. Christmas is what? Coming. It's coming. It's right there. It's right in front of us. Interesting thought on that subject. Side note. I believe the activities that you do today, the phone calls that you make today, the doors that you knock today, the leads you generate today are going to close around Christmas time. By the time you cultivate them, by the time they get listed, by the time they find a house to purchase, by the time escrow goes through the escrow period, by the time the transaction closed, what time is it?
Christmas.
Christmas. So what you do today is going to affect what kind of a Christmas you're going to have. I wrote down here, a key to beating complacency is not doing a lot. The key to beating complacency is doing more than what matters, more of what matters most. More of what matters most. Not doing a lot, but doing more of what matters most. A healthy sense of urgency comes from the acceptance that the pace of change is quickening and will not go away. Those of you that get this and get it fast will not be left behind. The business, our business, is changing. Yes or no?
Yes.
It's changing every day, every hour. They're moving the cheese. It's a whole nother conversation. But those of us that have ownership on our past client and sphere, those of us that have our email addresses of our clients, those of us that have the cell numbers for our clients, those people are going to not only succeed, they're going to thrive in this environment. If you don't have your email addresses of your clients, if you don't have the cell numbers, you're in for a really rude awakening. Where are you going to be able to, how are you going to be able to contact your people? How? Any of you using phone list from any of these sources that we can buy the list from? Any of you use that? What was the phone number that we get? We get landlines, right? When you get a landline and somebody answers, who do they expect is on the other end of the call? The salesperson. It's you. You showed up. Now, some people buy into that, but most people today, certainly over the next 3 to 5 years, it's not going to be there. I wrote down here, we need to ramp it up. Today matters. Today matters. Bill Gates had a quote. He said, if you're born poor, it's not your mistake. If you're born poor, that's not your mistake. He said, but if you die poor, it is certainly your fault. Think about that. Doesn't matter where you came from. Doesn't matter who you are. Whatever happened, that was where we came from. But we can do something about it. And part of the issue is our complacency. Don't stop doing the activities that got you here. How many 5-5-10s can you do this week? How many 5-5-10s can you do the rest of the week? You're here for the Blitz today? Great. The rest of the week, 5-5-10. Get out on the doors, talk to people. Get out of complacency. If nothing else, for the next 10 days. Just for the next 10 working days. The question I wrote down here is, how many of my past clients in sphere of influence will I contact this week and let them know about the great changes in the marketplace? Some of you started working on this. More of you need to continue it. Your next transaction, your next listing, or your next sale is in that database. Do something about it and start now. And go out and have an incredible week. Thank you.